Can you imagine giving up everything and moving to a Mediterranean island to become a farmer?
Where I'm from, you've got to give something a go. And I thought, no, I'll grow some avocados.
Well, that's just what this family has done, selling up their home in Hong Kong to move here. And make sure you stay to the end of the video, as we'll be exploring the pros and cons of a 3-phase system. Meet John, Katharina and their 2 children. John is a retired commercial pilot and trained diesel mechanic. When the COVID pandemic impacted the air travel industry, John took early retirement and plotted a course for a new destination and a new life on the Spanish island of Mallorca.
The children were 8 and 6, and we were living in a small apartment in Hong Kong. I grew up in this type of environment in New Zealand, and my wife also lived in semi-rural as well, and we really decided, well, this is a good opportunity to just start something new and give the children some type of an outside farm life. We wanted somewhere that had a good climate and not too cold in the winter, and we'd spent a lot of time on this island. We have family members here, so we ended up looking around for property, and here we are.
After their first plan to start a microbrewery fell through, John discovered this 8-acre farm plot.
So we went from plan A to plan B. This place has a great feel to it. The previous owner is a lovely man, and he has helped us to the nth degree, since we've been here.
Indeed, Gabriel, who sold John the property, has remained on hand to offer help and advice on best practices for farming this site.
He's an amazing guy, and initially he was only going to be here for 3 months once we purchased the property, because I was still learning from him. But he got on board and realised that we can actually take it up a level, and it's been a massive learning curve.
The arable land consists of 15 orange trees, 30 lemon trees, 25 loquat trees and 600 metres of grapevines, a few fig, plum and apple trees, plus a large 550 square metre house. But it's the more lucrative avocado harvest that this farm is now geared towards, with the fruit reaching maturity in 2 to 3 years.
They are quite a hardy plant, but you can either overwater them or underwater them. So that's why we've brought modern technology into the orchard to monitor that. We have, a weather system that has very accurate rainfall rates, and we also have moisture meters scattered all through the orchard, and it's updated every minute through Home Assistant, so we can check at all times what the sectors are doing. And it uses low frequency to a repeater on the roof, which then incorporates into either its own standalone app or Home Assistant, which is what I use, so we can check at real time what the highest moisture content was when it was watered, and also what it settles down with.
The property already had an old lead-acid battery system installed when the family moved in. An old Victron Energy Quattro was still functioning, along with some fixed position PV panels. It clearly needed updating, and looking after the install has been local renewable energy company Inno Boreal, which specialises in PV installation on the island.
We needed to upgrade or add more power, so we went for MultiPlus rather than Quattro, because there was no need for a Quattro here. So the idea here first was to put lithium-ion batteries and perhaps add more solar panels.
It was an old system, quite old, and the array was broken, but we found pretty quick that we needed more power, especially with a family of 4. Everything basically needed to be modernised. We had the room to expand, which is a great thing. I was impressed with how the Quattro was working, especially after the amount of time. It was quite old.
Initially, they installed one Victron Energy 8 kVA MultiPlus inverter charger and was so impressed by the performance, they very soon added a second.
Once you sort of have all this free sunshine coming in, you want to use it. You don't want anything sitting idle, so it's better to overpower yourself.
The updated system installed comprises of two MultiPlus 2 inverter chargers, a Serbo GX along with an MPPT. A Fronius inverter is also used in conjunction with a Solex inverter and 70 kWh of Pylontec lithium batteries. There are two main banks of solar panels, on top of a large water tank, as well as an array that moves automatically following the sun's path. A huge benefit of choosing a Victron Energy system is that it'll be compatible with just about any other manufacturer's equipment you choose to connect to it.
The fact that it's open sources also shows how Victron is able to integrate all these systems and with minimal intervention from the installer. We are increasing the efficiency of the whole system by not having multiple conversions. And when there is a big peak load, we are not transferring all this power to the Victron. The inverter takes over much of the power and the Victron is staying quite nice and cold and running much more smoothly. We like AC coupling systems, and in this case we have this variety of compatible PV inverters in AC coupling like Fronius, and because Victron has sensors to measure this production for any PV inverter.
It all just marries together in one place, and with the automations you can turn appliances on or off.
The Balearic government offers grants for photovoltaic installations, and in this instance, between 40 and 60% of the total cost of John's install, including upgrades, has been covered by the scheme.
The great thing with Victron is that they have the forecast solar, which is a fairly new application or some information it can give you, and it's pretty accurate. So we may not use the car on a particular day, but we can charge it from 20% to 100 the following day. You have to be intelligent when you are off grid. Charge the car and we fill the tank, the big water tank, and we heat our hot water. So obviously the batteries have priority to a certain percentage because we know how much we're going to use in the next, say, day or two. Without Victron, really, our life would be a lot harder. So not only have we had to expand the system over time, and also, I really enjoy tinkering with user interfaces. The fact that it can play nicely with all my different machines in there, or different products, is brilliant.
As an installer that we are monitoring all our installations and we are following them, we need them to be robust. We need them to be 100% running, and we are not an installer that forgets and makes the client search for another installer for troubleshooting.
Next to the house is a large water tank, fed by their own borehole. Bringing water up from the depths requires a 3.5 kilowatt water pump, and with such a busy work and family life at the location, John may need to add more power usage for things like air conditioning, a second EV charger, irrigation, or even a heated pool.
I would choose three-phase over parallel because for one, we can use chargers that are three-phase, and also we are able to access more available electrical material and to not get fancy or on amperages above 63 amps, for example, and very thick cables that will use a lot of space and will be very uncomfortable to install.
Whichever system John decides to go with in the future, he can be confident that the Victron Energy tech, now up and running on site, can make the most of the Mediterranean sun shining on his crops and powering the farm.
I'm just working towards not having to use the generator at all. It's not going to be 100%, but we're very, very close to being 100% solar powered. I like a challenge and I like to learn something new. And so that's part of it. And also for the kids and the family. And it's a lifestyle choice. So we've been very fortunate that we can actually do this and we can expand on what is already here. So yeah, no regrets whatsoever.
And if you'd like to see more examples of how Victron energy systems can positively impact off-grid farms, check out this install project at a French honey farm and see how easy the owners can now sell electricity back to the national grid thanks to the new Victron energy system they've installed.